Hello everyone, my name is Helga and you're on my anime channel. Firstly, I would like to say Happy New Year to all of you. 2021 was a hard year for a lot of people and for me personally, but I somehow managed to watch more anime than in any previous year of my life. So today I would like to share with you my stats and make a tier list out of all 2021 anime that I finished last year. So without further ado, let's go. We're going to start with looking at my anime stats from the year 2021. In general, I finished watching 59 anime, for which were the leftovers from the previous year from the 2020 fall season, so we won't count them in the tier list. Also, we won't take into consideration the series that came out in the earlier years, which I just happened to watch in 2021, as well as specials, because I consider them to be parts of their respective series and not separate titles, especially the ones like Wonder Egg Priority, where the special episodes literally completes the story. I've also decided not to include movies and keep my tier list series only. But if you're interested, in 2021, I watched only 3 anime movies, which are Demon Slayer The Mugen Train and 2 Sailor Moon Eternal movies, and I rated all of them quite high on my anime list. So, my tier list will consist of the anime series that match the following requirements. They came out and finished airing in 2021, so I haven't included the series like Ranking of Kings because it's still ongoing and it's hard for me to rate it properly. And the second requirement is that I finished watching them. As there are 46 shows that I need to rate in this video, I'm not going to be describing all of their premises. I will talk about their plots only if it's needed in order to support my opinion, or if the show that I'm talking about is not really well known. I would also like to tell you about how I see these tiers for you to understand the basis of my decisions. The S tier is an absolute masterpiece. It's the anime that I consider absolutely epic. The A tier is for the anime that I enjoyed watching. So both of these tiers will include my favorite anime of the year. The B tier is for solid titles, the ones that I quite liked. The C tier is for average titles that weren't absolutely appalling, but not good either. And as I usually just drop the anime that I hate with a passion, and here we're talking about the titles that I have finished watching, the D tier is going to be for the ones that I had strong negative feelings about for some reason. So now that we've established the rules, let's start creating our list. I have put all the series in the order in which I finished watching them, and the first one is Jobless Reincarnation. To tell you the truth, I didn't like the first part of the series at all. The actions of the main character were very problematic, and the people surrounding him weren't very likable at all, in my opinion. Yes, I agree that the animation was great, but it's really not that important to me usually. However, it's kind of hard for me to put it too low now because I have finished watching the second part of the series and I liked it more. So in my mind, I kind of judge the series as a whole. But we'll talk about the second part a little bit later in this video. So now let's just put the first part into the D tier. I already see how a lot of people disagree with me, which is kind of scary, but this tier list is gonna be entirely subjective and based on my own opinion. Suppose a kid from the last Dungeon Bunnies moved to Star Town is a comedic fantasy with a not so typical overpowered character. It was quite fun to watch, so I think it deserves to be in the B tier. Next goes Other Side Picnic, which I liked a lot. I have even read the first volume of the light novel, which follows the events of the series. I also dig the vibe of Japanese city legends, so I'm going to put it in the A tier. Next we have the second season of Re:Zero, which unfortunately was kind of boring to me, with lots of nonsensical monologues delivered by the characters, so it's the C tier for me. Bottom tier character Tomozaki is a slice-of-life comedic romance series about gamers, a topic that I don't relate that much with. But I can say that this series was fine, not too linear in terms of its harem, which I appreciated. So, bottom tier character Tomozaki doesn't go into the bottom tier. I'll put it into the B tier instead. Promised Neverland Season 2 is definitely one of the most hated series of the year in the community. However, I didn't feel that strongly about it. It was just average for me. So I'll put it in the C tier. Dr. Ramone is a title that I don't hear anyone talk about. Although I found it quite amusing and interesting to watch. It's about a guy who treats weird mystical illnesses and his assistant. I can recommend it to you if you like, or at least don't mind, over the top absurd humor. As for me, I quite liked it, as I've already mentioned, so I'll put it in the B tier. Kemono Jihen is also very underrated on AnyTube in my opinion. It's an exciting story about monster kids who work for a detective agency. I personally liked the setting of this anime, which is represented by rural Japan and Tokyo, and they are both portrayed perfectly there, in my opinion. So, this anime is between the A tier and the B tier for me, but let's put it in the B tier, I think. Attack on Titan, the final season, which turned out not to be final at all, surprised me in a lot of ways, most of which unfortunately weren't pleasant. If you haven't seen my rant video about Eren and his actions, watch it following the link in the description. However, I like the themes of war and post-traumatic stress disorder presented in some episodes. Also, because of the great opening sequence, I think it deserves to be put into the C tier. The next show is One Direct Priority, which I will also put into the C tier right away. I can't say that I disliked it, but it was kind of all over the place for me. I like the idea of them fighting to get their friends back to life. Also, I quite like the style of the show, but unfortunately, the delivery didn't meet my expectations. Horimiya was a very solid romance show with fast-paced relationship development between the main leads, which is very unusual for this genre. That's why it deserves to be at least in the B tier, but for me it's somewhere between the A and the B tier actually. But the next show I liked a little bit more, that's why I will put Horimiya into the B tier. Yes, the next show is Koikimo, aka It's Too Sick to Call It Love. Yes, I realize that the relationship presented in this show is much unhealthier than the one that we had in Horimiya, and objectively, maybe Horimiya is a little bit better, but for me personally, talking about my preferences, I like this one more, so I'll put it into the A tier. Dragon Goes House Hunting also gets into the A tier because it's a very funny story about finding the best place to live in an RPG where you're considered a villain which the heroes need to fight with. So it's told not from the perspective of the heroes who play the game, but from the perspective of an NPC who doesn't want to fight at all, who just wants to find a peaceful place to live in, avoiding all the battles. And it also has tons of humor connected with looking for a house or an apartment. So anyone who has ever had this experience looking for the best place to live in will be able to relate. When I was moving 2 months ago, I was constantly remembering the scenes from this anime. Vivi Florid Eyes Song is the definition of average for me, so it goes straight into the C tier. I enjoyed the second season of Moriarty the Patriot a little less than the first one, but I think it's still a solid Sherlock Holmes adaptation with a little bit of a Shonen Ai fan service, so I'll put it into the B tier. Though Snow White Notes is a music anime about shamisen players, which has quite an unlikable protagonist. It also ended very abruptly, which I didn't like. But I enjoyed the music aspect of this show very much. So I think it will go into the C tier. The only two things that I liked about Mars Red were its opening and ending sequences, as well as the atmosphere that it delivered. However, a lot of the plot lines were nonsensical, the behavior of the characters was weird, so it also goes into the C tier. I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level is a great comedic isekai. I liked it a lot, especially the episodes in which the characters were trying to write their own songs. I found it very cute and just adorable. Based on the level of enjoyment that it gave to me, I'll put it into the A tier. Shadow's House is a creative masterpiece that I'm putting into the S tier without a second thought. Everything from the characters to the atmosphere to the music is just perfect for me. Higehiro, after being rejected, I shaved and took in a high school runaway. I feel weird pronouncing this name. Is a romance, slice of life, drama type of show, which left me with a weird feeling after watching it. It didn't turn out to be as perverted as I expected it to be, which is good, but unfortunately it didn't appear to be a good show either. That's why I think it goes into the C tier. Also, this anime gets the prize for the worst mother of the year. The mother from this anime, in my mind, was competing with the mother from those Snow White notes, the mother of the main character, which was also awful. But in this anime, the mother of the main female character turned out to be even worse. So I'm a spider, so what is my love? I know there definitely were some drawbacks like poor animation in the last episodes, but it has a special place in my heart because of its enormously likable protagonist and overall plot. That's why, as you might have already guessed, it goes into the A tier on my tier list. Full Dive, or this ultimate next-gen full dive RPG is even shittier than real life, is a comedy about a guy who starts playing a weird RPG where everything feels real. It was okay, but it didn't leave any good memories in my mind. That's why it's a C tier for me. The Saint's magic power is omnipotent also goes into the C tier because it's a quite boring reverse harem isekai with nothing very special about it. The World Ends With You, the animation, is a pretty stylish anime based on a console and mobile game. I can say that I had a fun time watching it, and it also had a comprehensible ending, which I appreciated, so I'll put it into the B tier. 86 is a quite popular series, the first season of which wasn't really up my alley. There were too many fighting scenes to suit my taste and strange character dynamics. That's why I will personally put it into the C tier. Super Cub is a slice of life anime about a small, kind of rural place in Japan and a girl who lives there. She doesn't have any particular interests in her life until she starts being interested in driving a motorbike. This anime has really great views of Japan, specifically its rural part. I really liked it for this, but the plot sometimes was strange to say the least. Specifically, one of the last episodes where I didn't really get the idea that the author wanted to portray, so I will put it into the B tier. The next one is Link Click, which is a Chinese anime. I know that there are debates in the community about whether we can call the animation created outside Japan anime. Actually, originally, and a lot of people, of course, know about it, that the term anime in Japan itself means just animation of any country. But I understand that in the international community, this term got a different meaning, which is the animation created in Japan specifically. And it's not so much about the country, but more about the style, because it's really weird to call Disney cartoons anime because they have an absolutely different style to them. And in this case, I think the term is very applicable because here we can see a very similar stylistic to the one that we usually see in the Japanese titles. And we can see some aspects of Chinese culture here, but I think it's more of an advantage than a negative thing, to tell you the truth, because it brings something refreshing, some new, exciting twist to the media that we're all used to, at least in my opinion. And talking about Link Click specifically, it gets the S tier from me because it's a very thrilling time travel story, and you know that I'm really into this genre. And here it's delivered very well. Also, it has good characters, and in general, I really enjoyed the plot twists that appeared to be there. To Your Eternity seems to be liked by a lot of people because it was the number one anime on my anime list for a couple of months, I believe. But I had conflicted feelings about it. I liked how they portray the theme of loss, but it was too much sometimes. I mean, they wanted to make the viewers cry too often, in my opinion. So it's getting a C from me. The second season of My Next Life as a Villainess wasn't as great as the first one for me, unfortunately. I liked one of the new characters. I also liked how the whole harem situation became a little bit too intense, but I didn't like how Katarina reacted to all of this. It was cute how she couldn't see what was right in front of her in the first season, but here it's a little bit too much for my taste. It's still a fun show to watch though, so let's put it into the B tier. I have made a separate review of Tokyo Revengers on my channel where you can listen to all my thoughts regarding it. I will leave a link to it in the description of this video. So here I'll just say that it goes into the A tier. The Detective Is Already Dead was an interesting mix of genres, from mystery to romance to even mecha. But I wasn't too fascinated by it, so it goes into the B tier. Tsukimichi Moonlight Fantasy is an unusual isekai story that pretends to be lighthearted at the beginning but becomes much more serious by the end. I like the opening song, the humor in it, and I was pretty surprised by all the twists that it has taken. So I hope to get the second season and put it into the A tier. The Dungeon of Black Company is also an isekai show which makes fun of the Japanese corporate culture, and I found it hilarious, so without a doubt, it's an A tier show. As a time travel fan, I was tremendously disappointed by Remake Our Life, mostly because of its weird morals. The main character made the weirdest choices, which I just couldn't agree with. Also, not to give too much away to those who haven't seen the show, I'll just say that I couldn't understand the way particular actions led to certain results, which is, of course, a very important part of any time travel story. So, it's going to become the second show in the D tier on my list. Life Lessons with Uramichi Oniisan is the funniest comedy about a quarter-life crisis. All the main characters are around my age, so I strongly related to the themes that were brought up in this anime and would put it in the A tier. Higurashi When They Cry Sotsu was a strange journey. It explained a lot of things that weren't clear in the previous season, but unfortunately I can't say that I was satisfied with the explanations. Also, the conclusion of the story felt weird to me, so despite the greatly delivered atmosphere of a small village that is hard to escape from, I'll have to put it in the C tier. The Great Jahi Will Not Be Defeated was awesome. I gradually fell in love with the main character and related to her struggles managing the life of an adult person, so it's definitely getting into the A tier. Miyeroko-chan started as an overly ecchi comedic horror type of show, which later transformed into something deeper. And I also like the opening and the ending themes of this anime. You could see that in general, I often mention the opening and the ending sequences when deciding what tier I should put a particular anime in. This is because I believe that they are very important. Not only do I like and sing any songs, I also think that they define the mood of the anime. And here they delivered the atmosphere of the show perfectly. And I'll put Miyako-chan into the A tier. Jobless Reincarnation Part 2 was significantly better than the first one for me. However, it still didn't become my favorite, so I'll put it into the C tier. Please don't get mad if you're a fan of this show. I totally understand that it's the ancestor of all the modern isekai, but a lot of themes in it are just not for me. Vampire Dies in No Time is a hilarious comedy about a vampire hunter, Ronald, who starts living and working together with a cowardly vampire and his familiar John, who I think is the true star of the series. I like the at times over the top humor of the show, so I'll put it into the A tier. And next we have another vampire show, which is Arena the Vampire Cosmonaut, the show that I recommended in my previous video, which was winter/holiday anime recommendations, and it really delivers the winter atmosphere and some cultural aspects of post-Soviet countries, but the plot turned out not to be that good, unfortunately. Not the strongest, let's say it like this. So I'll put it into the C tier. The world's finest assassin gets reincarnated in another world as an aristocrat, describes the whole premise in its name. There is nothing that I can add to it except for this anime being a modern and stylish kind of isekai with a great opening sequence, both visually and in terms of its music, and it gets a solid B for me. Visual Prison is my big love. It's an anime about Bishonen vampires singing cool J-rock songs. It's just as crazy, but much cooler than it sounds. If you're like me and you like Japanese rock music, I think you will enjoy this anime too. Liking hot anime, guys, will definitely also add to your experience. For me, this anime is somewhere between the S and the A tier, but I'm trying to be at least subjectively objective in this video, if that makes sense. And objectively, it's not on the same level with Shadow's House and Link Click, so I will reluctantly put it in the A tier. But if I needed to judge this anime based on the music and voice actors' performances, it would definitely be in the S tier. As you can see, the fall season was quite generous with likable anime for me. So we're going to finish this list with 3 more titles that will all get very good grades for me. And we'll start with Taisho Maiden Fairy Tale, which is one of the cutest love stories that I have seen in the anime in general. So it will expectedly go into the A tier. The next anime also has a very strong romantic line. It's called Banished from the Hero's Party. I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside. You can really say that it's based on a light novel, huh? The main plot of this anime wasn't that riveting, but I really enjoyed the progression of the relationship between the main leads. That's why I'll put it in the B tier. And the last one is another Chinese anime, which I also enjoyed quite a bit. It's called Drowning Sorrows in Raging Fire, and it has great characters, some well-implemented shonen ai fan service. It also has a very fast-paced plot and great visuals. It has some 3D graphics in it, but this is the case when they don't ruin the atmosphere of the show, but otherwise they add to it. So it's going into the A tier. So that was it for my 2021 anime series tier list. Do you agree or disagree with me? Write about it in the comments, but please be respectful sharing your opposing opinions because I definitely didn't want to offend anyone by expressing mine. Also tell me if there are any great anime series that I missed in 2021. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and click the little bell icon to get all the notifications about when I post new videos. I hope to see you all soon. Bye!